Guys, this is Eric Petersen. I was best friends with his little brother when I lived across town, and then we met at Tiana's birthday party, and I figured out who he was.
It's fun.
And we've been friends ever since. He is killing it. He works at Adobe, and he is now huge into real estate investing. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. He's going to be going over how he does real estate and how we can all get rich doing it too.
It's true.
So without further delay, here's Eric.
We love you, Ray.
Oh, hey guys, what's up? It's weird being up here because, I don't know.
Because you've come to like 5 of these.
I've come to 5 of these and now I'm a presenter. You're all presenting someday. Congratulations.
It's possible.
It's totally possible. Okay, guys, quick background. How I got into real estate and like why I'm doing it, and then I'll actually kind of go through a method of what most people can do to get into it now, where you're basically living with like rent-free or mortgage-free, whatever you want to call it. It's a method that a lot of people our age do. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so my background. I was born here in Provo, actually. Not born here, raised here though. Love it. I'm 33. I'm gonna follow my notes so I don't mess anything up. Dude, when I was growing up, I was the freaking band geek. You know the drumline people who like Chris Cannon? I was Chris Cannon. But no, like high school I did that. It was pretty fun. I went to BYU and graduated in 2013. And I did
high school.
I went to Provo High. Yeah, the one that was across the street from BYU before, it like moved, and now I don't know what it is.
Desolate wasteland.
It's just like, yeah, it's just like BYU's slap house or something. Anyways.
We can edit this later. I'm just kidding.
You got to practice your podcast.
No, it's good. It's perfect. It's ready.
I graduated from BYU doing with my master's in information systems. That's like a computer degree with an emphasis on business, so I'm a nerd with social skills. It's pretty fun.
Ladies.
When I graduated from college, I worked at Domo for 4 years, so that was my startup / high-speed mid-market experience. And then that's where I went and worked for Adobe for 4 years after that, and I'm still there. It's kind of like in that weird position right now where I'm kind of just keeping it because the salary's nice and I can get away with being super productive in 10 hours a week. Who knows if I just end up like quitting one day. Like that's kind of like my dream life, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's like why one of the reasons I got into real estate is like the options and the availability to kind of do whatever I want, because it's like an awesome income. And it's not the only thing you can do, obviously, but yeah, I think everyone should throw real estate into their portfolio in some aspect when it comes to their investments. And we'll get further into that too. If there's anything else on the intro. Okay, and then the fun fact. My favorite job I've ever had. Guys, I worked at Disney World for one summer, and by George, that was the funnest experience of my life. You go into it knowing you're not going to keep any of your money because, they pay you a minimum wage, and they charge you to live in Disney housing.
Great.
Yeah, so good times, but it was a fun summer, man. Like
magical.
It was magical.
Happiest place on earth.
And the magic changes when you see Snow White like smoking a cigarette. The magic changes from the location to making children's lives happy.
I heard that Disney World is cooler than Disneyland, even though Disneyland is classic.
It's a
Disney World's better.
Hard take, because Disney World has a lot more to do, but Disneyland is way more kept up because everyone who goes to Disneyland is a California local, so they go way more often.
Sure.
So they're Karens, and they will tell corporate all the time when something looks wrong. While Disney World, it's mostly a bunch of Japanese and Chinese people, and they're just like, they're just there to have a magical time. They aren't paying attention if the paint's peeling.
Nice.
Fun fact.
Excellent.
Okay. Enough about the intros and like my favorite thing I've ever done. Okay, guys, how did I get into real estate and like what kind of like inspired me? First little bit. Well, once upon a time, graduated from college, right? My best friend is like, "Hey, Eric, we're gonna live up at Vivian Park. You should join us." Does anyone know where Vivian Park is?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you guys know there's houses up there?
Don't the Monsons have their cabin up there?
Yes.
Oh, more like cabins.
Yeah, they're like cabins, but people live up there all the time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun story with Monson. I'll tell it after though. Maybe I'll tell it now. No, I'll tell it now.
Were you the guy he saved in the river?
Yeah, that was me.
You're like really old. I'm just kidding.
Like face routine. Lots of moisture. Okay, so we lived up at Vivian Park at this awesome cabin. Everyone in the neighborhood calls it the hotel because the freaking landlord there always rents to like young, recent college grads, and it's like always all these like bros are moving in and out, you know. So it's called the hotel. When I was there and I was talking to my landlord, that's when I realized, wait a second, you can live in a house and rent out to a bunch of people, and they basically pay your mortgage, which means you can like live in a better house in a nicer place and basically like collect 3 roommates, 2 roommates, whatever, and then they're paying your mortgage. That's when it first dawned on me, wait a second, this is a way to like live a cool life. Instead of me living in the master paying $900 a month to like live up there and be cool, I'm going to change my lifestyle instead. So, I mean, I wish I could show Google Street View, but like, this is just a reminder of like my start.
There is a hotel in there.
Yeah, right here, there's a hotel.
You
Some
can
bro
book
house.
a person and drag it onto it.
Oh no, I know, but here's the problem. This
that
this
specific
house right
street?
here
Yeah.
was the house I was in. If I drop it here, these pictures were taken when it was trees.
Oh.
Looks great.
So that's the
Updated
problem.
that.
Anyways, that's what at first got me into like the idea of real estate, and I'm just like, okay, I can make money doing this. And you know, I started noticing I had a lot of friends too who were living in South Provo at the time, back when South Provo was cool. Guys, this was like 9 years ago. Like I had so many friends who were doing the same thing. They would buy their house, they would rent it out, and then they're just like, I'm traveling all the time because my mortgage to me is $0 because I'm getting $900 in rent and my $800 mortgage is getting paid. So their whole salary was going to traveling the world. And it started dawning on me, wait, if I can earn money without working hard, I can have the lifestyle I want. And that's just kind of like the nascent idea, right? And it grows, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So that's where I was. And then one day I met what I think everyone should have an experience like this. You should meet a mentor who inspires you and changes your life and leads you down like the direction you want to go. And that can be in anything. It's not just real estate, right? Like whether you're a salesperson or you're a really good coder, there you are, or you're doing like construction, stuff like that. You probably, if you build a business, or Mikey knows this too, you probably have mentors who have inspired you. And if you know that they can be a mentor, take total advantage of like being in their space and getting to know them and getting to know their people. My first mentor ever was Mikey Vows. I want to talk a little bit about McKay. This guy, besides having like the cutest kids and a bombshell wife, started his life with just one day realizing at 23 he could buy tons of houses, rent them out, and retire by 30. He bought 20 houses by the time he was 28, and by
Nice.
30 he took all of that money and he retired from his day job as an insurance agent, and now he lives in Costa Rica with his family, living off of the income from just these rentals. And he is the guy who taught me all these amazing things. And one thing I'm going to teach you is a principle, like why real estate ends up being like this huge moneymaker. I hope you guys like math, because we're going to get a little bit into math here.
I
and
love
show you
this
some of the
math.
numbers.
It's my favorite math.
So anyways, McKay's my guy. I don't talk to him anymore because he's in Costa Rica and he hates phones, but he's an eccentric guy. Okay, so who here is familiar with the concept of leverage?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you don't, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but I think a lot of people are pretty
Have
in
we
this
not
space.
talked about leverage? We're bringing in other mentors.
More mentors. Okay.
I'll make a video.
It'll be part of your podcast.
That'll be part of my podcast.
It'll be like, how do you recover? I think about leverage.
Have you ever
Okay.
heard of leverage?
In like any sort of investment's really good. Investments are super important. It's how you make money. The most traditional way most people learn about investing is the stock market, right? And I just wanted to throw out some quick numbers here. If you invest in the stock market and it compounds at like 4%, 6%, or even up to 15%, if you put $10,000 in, over the years it steadily grows, right? But you can like know within 5 years you'll have $12,000 from 10,000. If you had 15%, it'll double, etc. Right? That's pretty standard. Those are considered good returns. Leveraging is the whole concept where a little bit of money goes a lot further. Because in this case, you're literally only investing on the 10,000 and the compounding interest that happens on that 10,000. In real estate, the whole concept of leveraging is you buy a house with a mortgage, or you get money from a bank, right? So you can put down $10,000 to buy a $200,000 asset. And think about that for a second. you only put down $10,000 and you have an item, a house that costs $200,000 that is still compounding. So you're compounding on $200,000 instead of just $10,000. Keep that in your mind. These numbers right here, I just put them together right before I got here, but I think I've had a similar situation to this. This is what ends up happening in real estate if you leverage in a good way. Let's say you have a down payment, $25,000, okay? It buys a $500,000 home. That is 5% down in order to buy like this really expensive big house. What ends up happening is like let's say you rent the house for $2,800, has like $5,000 of expenses, and your mortgage is $2,300. When you first look at this, you're probably thinking like, oh my gosh, like that's $2,700 a month to run this house. I'm barely making any money on the rent. But here's the thing, that's not where you always make your money in real estate. It's not just you get a bunch of money from the rent. There's 4 other ways to make money in real estate. Just going through these numbers here, what ends up happening is like, first off, if you get a loan, you're paying down the loan, right? Once a month, you pay the principal, and every once in a while it goes down a little bit more. Well, in 5 years, just look at this. Year 1, on like this kind of mortgage, you pay down $8,000. Next year, $8,700, $9,000, $9,400, $9,800. That comes out to like, you've just made $45,000 in the mortgage getting paid down because of other people paying rent to you. Any questions or thoughts or
You guys get that?
Do you guys get it?
So they are paying you for rent, and that money that they pay you goes towards your mortgage.
Yep.
And so they have contributed now over this many years that much money in rent that paid for your mortgage. So you now own $45,000 worth of equity in your home because that's how much of the mortgage you paid down.
Okay. Yep. And that's just one part of it. Next one, your net income. Maybe you lose some money your first year, renting at $2,800, but every year you increase the rent just because the market goes up. Maybe it's like 2%, 3%, 4% a year, but your rent's going to go up. So then you start realizing your net income goes up each year too. After 5 years, you've kept $8,000, and that's just cash in your pocket. I don't know if you guys are familiar with depreciation. We usually hear about depreciation when it comes to cars, right? You buy a car, once you take it off the lot, it already drops like 10% in value, 20%. These days, that doesn't count. You buy a car and then you go and sell it. These are weird times. But in real estate, depreciation is actually a good thing because it's a tax incentive. The simplest way to describe it is when you buy a house, the IRS allows you, because like the house is like falling apart over time, right? They allow you to deduct a certain amount of money every year off your taxes. In this particular case, you can deduct from your taxes $16,000 a year. So you have a tax bill of $100,000. If you have a house, you can depreciate it and take $16,000 off of your tax bill each year.
So, like, if I have a business
Hey,
and we need a car for that business, what's up, Hero? So the tax code says a car will last a business about 5 years. So you're allowed to depreciate, or because you would think that if I pay $5,000 for the car, I'd be able to just write off $5,000 off of my taxes that year. The tax code says it lasts 5 years, so you can take out 1/5 of what you paid for the car over 5 years.
Yep.
So that's $1,000 if it costs $5,000. Now with the house, they say it lasts 27.5 years. That's just what they decided.
Yeah, it's just the IRS being the IRS.
And so they're saying that over that 27.5 years, every year, your house is breaking down and you have to replace stuff because you're renting it out. So they say that you can take 1/27th-ish of the equity of the home out of your taxes every year.
Yep.
To use that to pay for stuff. Which means that no matter what your income is, you can take that much out. It's a sweet way to avoid paying lots of taxes.
It's super awesome. And so, again, if you do that for 5 years owning this house, you've depreciated $81,000. You've saved $81,000 in taxes. Last little bit, homes go up in value. Let's just pretend it isn't a crazy market like we've had the past, 2 years, and it just goes up 4% a year. Here you're seeing your house, you bought it for $500,000. By the end of 5 years, it went up $108,000. And total, you put $25,000 into this house, okay? You bought it for the down payment of $25,000. by the time you add up how much you've paid down the mortgage, how much you've actually collected in rent above like all your expenses, the depreciation on your taxes, and then the actual appreciation of the house, you've made 195% return on your money per year.
Which compared to the stock market is a lot.
Yeah, like the stock market in 5 years with $10,000, you made 20,000. Let's change this to 25 just to make it like nicer. So in 5 years, if you do a traditional IRA or something, you're gonna make 4%. You made what, $30,000? So you made $5,000 in real estate.
Well, you get taxed as soon as you take it out.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. In real estate, you made way more than that. You like literally 10 times your money.
And all that money, you can either just do the deductions and not pay taxes on it, or you can borrow a loan against it and not pay the taxes on that, and then just keep paying it down.
And
there's a lot of ways you can not get stuck with taxes with real estate.
It's pretty awesome. So this was a lot. I just wanted you guys to see why people get into real estate.
A lot more money.
And a lot of people think, oh, well, I can't make any money because the rent is barely above the mortgage. That's not where people make money in real estate. People make money based on like the mortgage pay down, the depreciation, the home value going up and stuff like that. So, okay, we'll get out of the math here in a second. I just wanted you guys to see the power of this. Any questions or thoughts so far?
I love it. So you're just playing the long game with most of this stuff. Like you're making a couple $100 a month, but really you're looking at the 5-year turnaround.
Yep.
You're gonna send these to us?
Yeah. So this is probably a good time to talk a little bit about my personal strategy. I use real estate. Okay, I buy crappy properties that are like falling apart. That if you fix them, they go up in value, so they actually rent really well. So I do like the cash flow. But what you usually want to do in real estate is you want to buy a piece of property that is in a good market that's growing, where you can hold on to it for several years. Because then you start getting this compounding effect of like your appreciation, how much you can take out in taxes and stuff like that. And so you buy a property, you hold on to it for like 5 years, and then you sell it and then either repeat or use that money for other investments, start a business, put it in the stock market, I don't know, do something stupid, like put it into stacked crypto before
travel the world.
So the long game is the best way to do it. Okay, that's enough about the numbers. I'm sure everyone who isn't a numbers person is like, okay, cool, I get it, it makes money.
It makes a lot of money, I get it, fine.
Where do we go from here? I think I already summarized this, but like the gains are as in your income, your depreciation, your mortgage pay down, your appreciation. Okay, so this is where I started in real estate and where I'm going, and I think there's a lot you guys can pick up on here right now if you wanted to get into real estate now and kind of see where it potentially could go, even if you don't want to be like a deep in the weeds real estate investor like me. The first thing I ever did after I talked to McKay, you know, my good old mentor guy who lives in Costa Rica now, he said, buy a house, rent out the rooms, pay down your mortgage. I was like, okay. What's nice, guys, about like where you guys are at, you can get a mortgage. A lot of people hear the idea that you have to put 20% down on a mortgage. Guys, that's the biggest lie that everyone tells you ever. You can get mortgages with 3.5% down, 5% down, 10% down. Most in Utah's market, let's say you like a house is like what, $500,000. If you can get, that's the wrong math. It's like $17,500.
That is zero. You got it. Yeah, it's only $1,750.
Jump on it now.
Everyone here is just like, I can do that. I'm buying a house. I'm gonna own real estate.
We're buying a house right now. Well, maybe if you go to Twill.
Yeah, hey, you never know.
All I'm saying, guys, like in 2 years of saving aggressively, you could get a house right now.
Right.
And what you end up doing is what I did. This was my first house ever. This was in Provo. I moved
Southern
from,
Provo, right?
No, this was East Provo or West Provo. This is right next to Grandview Hill, right next to the train tracks, on 820 North, where they keep saying they want to build a freeway entrance, but they never will because it's.
Are those your children too?
I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
those are my children that I just adopted.
Children.
I love controlling the video. I just like
adopted
zoom
them
in on them.
from Thailand.
It's just making the value go up. He's like, we're gonna get into that. Renting children.
Renting children. I mean, I already did talk. Never mind. We're not.
It's a great side business.
We're getting filmed here.
You think kids are expensive? Think again. You can make money. I'm just kidding.
Dude, this is like my new. This is a course I could start.
Oh my gosh, paid actors.
Paid actors and everything. Okay. This house I bought for $210,000 and I put $10,000 down.
Hot dang.
I sold it for $270,000 3 years later. So I made $70,000 on a $10,000 investment. And what I did was I got this house, I advertised it to a bunch of UVU students because it's like right on Geneva Road basically.
Right.
Said, hey, come rent with me. I rented to 3 people and I made $200 above my mortgage. What's nice about people like who aren't just trying to live off their mortgage is you can still have a nice job. You can still like do all your lively stuff, except you can live in a house with your best friends and pay down your mortgage. They'll pay down your mortgage. And it's super awesome.
And there's enough left over for gold digger repellent.
Did you tell them that the money was going to you, or did you have like someone else pretend that they were going to?
I didn't pretend because I
Very
didn't care.
sneaky.
If you want to be sneaky, you can.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it's nice just to be transparent. But you don't have to tell them they're paying down the mortgage. All you have to tell them is like, guys, I'm buying a house. We can all live together, and it'll be super sick. And it will be.
I mean, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And like 2 of my roommates just moved out because we violated a housing code. Apparently, you can only have 5 people in one house. I mean, we didn't know that. Apparently. But it's literally like they're paying you to live there. And I know people who are paying to live at the Axis, at the Village, like all these apartment complexes. They're paying $600-700 a month. We're paying $550.
Yeah, and it's
for a
probably a
house.
nicer place.
It's in Vineyard.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what gets better than that.
Yeah. And so,
Not much.
like, if you guys want a house and you like are trying to figure out how to make this all work, this is how you do it. Bonus knowledge. Not every lender does this, so you need to ask the lender. But if you're going to rent out some of the rooms, there are certain lenders that will count the rent towards the mortgage. So let's just pretend you're making $80,000 a year, but you want a house that requires like $100,000 to like be able to afford it. You find out you're going to rent the house for like 2 of the rooms for $1,000 total. You can go to lender and say, hey, I'm actually going to rent the rooms and make $1,000 a month. The lender will say, oh, cool. So we will take 75% of that $1,000 and contribute that to your salary.
As if it was income.
Exactly. So suddenly you're making, in this particular case, you're making $750 extra. And the reason they do that is because suddenly the loan becomes less risky to them, right? Because like, oh, he has renters, so he'll always be able to make his payment. So remember, not every lender does that, but if you ask the question and they say yes, that's extra incentive for you to go with that lender.
Find a lender that does that. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Find a lender that will do that for you.
There actually are a lot who will do it because
You
go.
have to be careful because if you apply for a conventional like homeowner loan, it's technically you can still rent, but they have to be your cousins.
Yeah, it has to be family.
Like you know what I mean? It has to like it can be
Kids are adopted just to live.
So
Doesn't matter if they're 2 years old.
in some of my property, I have a lot of
Step-sibling?
cousins.
And,
Hero's like, my family's so big.
and to
I'm
be
brown.
Cousins, hey.
And to be fair, guys, like most lenders, not all lenders have that requirement. Some do. So like it's literally just being savvy and asking around. Any questions on that before I move on?
No, that's a
Okay.
gold nugget. I like it.
Okay, that's the strategy I used to get my first 3 houses. I bought this house. I was like, okay, that was awesome. Ignore this like jungle right here. I was like, this is cool. Can I do this again? Turns out you can. Lenders allow you to a year later to do the exact same strategy. You can go buy a house for 3.5% down, get renters again, and go buy a second house, buy a third house, buy a fourth house. So I went to Lehigh because I got a better job and bought this house and rented it out. And then I did it one more time in the condo I live in. So that's a strategy people do to get into it. Go.
So you said a year later. Is there an incentive for the lenders to do specifically a year later? Is that like?
The lenders have a rule when you sign the documents saying like you have to live in the house for 1 year. It has to be your primary residence for 1 year.
That's your house.
But you don't have to send them a letter. You don't have to do anything when you move out. You don't have to tell them like you're not living in the house anymore. That's just you just won't be able to get another loan for a year because the other lenders will realize you just bought the house.
Right.
So to buy like 10, 20 homes, you have to do that all in cash, basically?
It depends. If you're going to do this strategy, you can get 1 house a year.
Okay.
If you're going to go hardcore and balls to the walls like I did, then you have to get private money, and we'll go into for the details. You'll have to get private money or buy in cash.
Okay.
So if you're going to buy like 3 houses in 1 year, you can't go and get 3 conventional loans. You're going to have to like get 1 really cheap loan and then go out and get 2 expensive loans.
How many properties have you done this year so far?
Oh, I'll get into that. Don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go into the basics first and tell you guys this strategy so you guys can like vision it.
There is another tip for that. Like if you have like a really best friend or business partner you trust, that one house that you go on the mortgage can become 2 houses in a year.
It's true.
And then those 2
Yeah,
houses
that's
can
good.
become
Or
4
like a
houses.
partner.
in
Okay,
2 years.
we'll totally talk about that. We're getting advanced.
I mean like
No.
a like romantic. Like,
As long
Oh,
as you're not
oh.
married.
you can't be
That's why most people have a wife. Get one.
Yeah, get a divorce. That's how you do it. No, you can do this with your wife can get a mortgage at the same
Just
time.
make sure you send
I'm like,
Yeah, prenup
because
works.
you'll already have.
Okay.
He'll be like, oh, I should do this. And you're like,
Any other thoughts on this? Basically, what I'm telling you guys is like, if you want a house, go get a house
go get a house.
because it's like you'll get that. I had a
If you're
700%
homeless-
return in 3 years with that one house I bought. This one, that was like 6 years ago. Now you can get a way better return. So I'm just saying, like that's infinity.
Do you still own that first one?
No, I'll talk about that. So sad.
You can only get the 3.5% FHA loan if it's your primary residence.
Yes.
right?
What happened to the children?
The children, they ran away. They just
Sold
covered.
with the house.
There was better ways. I sold them with the house. Okay, guys, this is
So as long as you're living in it
For
every
money.
year you can get as low as 3.5.
yes, yes. You
Just
can.
wanted to confirm.
Yeah. Now there's another weird caveat. You can only get up to 10 loans doing that. But let's be honest, like, like that's 10 years. That's 10 loans.
but
Like,
you actually have to live
not a
there
big
for a
deal.
year.
okay.
Can you
This is
stay
where I
there?
You
decided
could
to
as
get
a primary residence, yeah.
adventurous. After I bought these 2 homes and before I bought my condo, I was like, you know what? Utah's
Good.
freaking expensive. I kind of want to do something a little different. So I went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where there's tons of like 100-year-old homes that are run down, but need a lot of tender loving care, and the rent's pretty high. And I bought this little beauty, this one in the middle. This thing I bought for $28,000. It rents for $1,200
So
a month.
Wow.
These are my ladies. You know why we call it.
Okay, bought this house. I've loved the returns. It's way more risky and aggressive though, and maybe I'll go into the details a little bit more. But this is what incentivized me to get hardcore into real estate investing. Because think of those numbers right there. You buy a house for $28,000 and you rent it for $1,200. You pay that thing off conservatively in 5 years. If you like don't repair anything, you can pay it off in 2 years. But then you're gonna have a house that needs a new roof. So be careful.
Milwaukee sounds great.
Milwaukee's great. So I bought this house and I learned some lessons. Guys, the downsides of real estate investing do exist. Sometimes in these like neighborhoods, this is like a bad neighborhood I can't go to. What?
Milwaukee or
This is north.
You can't go there?
Well, I mean, not to get like too far into demographics.
He has a restraining order.
Yeah, I can't go there. I'm
Against
white.
The entire state of Milwaukee.
This neighborhood doesn't like white people.
get out.
We'll handle that for you.
Yeah, you guys can help it.
Big turtlenecks, gold chains.
Dude, he can be scary.
Oh, dude, I can see that. It's in your eyes.
Bro, on
Okay.
the podcast, let's talk about your mission. That companion.
Okay,
Oh my
some of the
God,
downsides
pants.
of renting,
Ugh.
especially in that like small house, sometimes tenants don't pay rent. Okay, you got to strategize about what happens if you have a vacancy or people don't pay rent, stuff like that. This is a business, like it's not perfect. There are repairs galore in these old houses. You need to make sure you have like a reserve. You need to make sure like you're buying a house that like isn't going to like flood and destroy itself in one day. Appraisals don't always get what you want. I bought this place, fixed it up a little bit, thought it would appraise for $60,000. The guy was racist and appraised it for $30,000. The reason I know that is because we went in how far into the details do I go here?
Sounds like a straight up guy.
Yeah, my property manager like knows these neighborhoods like crazy, so she found like a property manager who knows the neighborhood, appraised it for $70,000. Because he knows the neighborhood, he knows the people in the area, like he actually like knows it. So
Sure.
like appraisals are dumb sometimes.
We need to get an appraiser that we can all use. That's just like our guy.
In your pocket.
And then when you do out-of-state investing, that like I do, guys, you need to have a good team. Like, I don't go out to Milwaukee and like interview the people and make sure the house looks good and all this stuff, because frankly, I don't want to be that kind of landlord. I want to own the property, and I want to pay people who are way more competent than me to do that. What ends up happening sometimes is your team doesn't turn out to be as good as you thought. So you got to remember, you might hire your first property manager might suck. That doesn't mean you stop and sell everything. That means you interview other property managers and find the right team member. It's like if you start a company and you need like a really good person in HR. Maybe the first person you hire in HR sucks. Does that mean you shut down the company and like never do a business again? No, it means you find a better person for HR. Like, it's the same in like investing out of state. If you have a bad experience with a contractor, go find another one. You have a bad experience with people finding your renters. Find someone who's better at finding renters. Like, there's always a solution. And finally, there's so much freaking paperwork in real estate investing, guys. So much. And I have no idea what those documents say. I've signed thousands of pages, and for all I know, someone owns my soul in Kentucky, and they use it to, like, I don't know, do their, I don't know. Oh my gosh. So those are some of the downsides. But here's the thing. After I bought this rickety old thing, and I started making some good profit, and there's another part of this too. I started realizing I want to get more into this, but the money wasn't the incentive I thought it would be. I was like, oh yeah, I want to make tons of money and it's going to be awesome. And I was making like $900 after the mortgage on this thing that I wasn't doing any work for.
That's like a job.
Yeah.
Some people don't make more than that a month.
But here's the thing. I was making
Bad
that.
job.
Bad
If you have a job like that, get out of the job.
Yeah,
You cost minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking.
I started realizing that wasn't enough incentive. So I started realizing I need to figure out why I want to get into this and what's my purpose, because there's headaches with anything, right? Starting a business has headaches, doing a side hustle, doing real estate investing. And that's when I decided, like, that's when I discovered, like, my purpose for why my investments in my business are for me. I don't know how many of you guys know this guy right here, Ramit Seehal. I can't read his name. Doesn't matter. I call him Rami.
I like Rami.
Rami wrote this book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's the simplest book in the world, but it incentivizes you to not think of personal finance as that thing that you're doing just to like be good with money. He incentivizes you to figure out what is your rich life. And that doesn't mean like making your millions and millions and millions, even though it could be that. It means, what do you love? What do you want to do with your money? And how do you want to make your life your own life with the money you make? And to have that rich life, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be making millions. It just means you need to prioritize what you love and put your money towards that, and anything else you don't love, don't put your money towards that. And for me, my rich life has started to come out to be like, I want to freaking hike in the Himalayas. I want to go to like Scotland, and I want to do the West Highland Trail. I want to go travel to these cool little cities in the middle of Europe and just like eat their stupid little baguettes or whatever and go like, oh, I'm cultured. I want to like go to tropical islands and chill for a while, right? I want to go travel the world. I want my freaking homestead that is up in the middle of Eden that's 100 acres and has like cows that I don't know how to take care of, but I'll learn how. And like, I want my freaking family, this isn't my family, but like,
I don't want my family. Yeah, those kids look a little different.
Come on, man. Photoshop. You can Photoshop something. I don't know.
Yeah, I should have like photoshopped my face right there. I picked this because that's my kind of girl right there.
I'm gonna edit this thing up good.
As you can see, the actors got better. They're better paid now.
Yeah, see, it got better. The kids got way better. I want to like
From
be able to
nerdy
spend...
band geek to that. With a baguette.
And like, I want to do charity work. I really like these water projects you can do in Africa. Not the ones where you go and then like you're a tourist, but you actually teach people in these areas how to fix their own wells, how to like get the tools, how to like have the knowledge to do it themselves. Like these,
Guys,
these
that
are
is
things I
what
wanna
these
do.
networking parties are going to turn into.
True.
Us being a bunch of rich people and
Yeah.
then getting together and being like, how do I give away all of this money? I made way too much. And it's going to be like, oh, let's go build wells. And we'll be like, let's each build a well. And we'll be like, okay.
Okay.
Can mine be by yours? No.
We'll be so fancy.
Yeah, with our baguettes.
Guys, what ended up happening when I discovered what I want my rich life to be is it incentivized me to realize what I have to do to get to this. And I think we all have
Sure.
stuff like this in our own lives, right? Like it doesn't have to be travel and family and like charity work like mine, but maybe you want to like have all the time in the world to go skiing. Maybe you want all the time in the world to do your art. Or maybe you want all the time in the world to like actually like be able to go to every activity your kid's doing. It's your life, it's your rich life. You just need to figure out what that life is, picture it, and then figure out how you're going to get there. And I think we've all heard this before, but I think we always forget it in this rat race where it's like money, money, money. And it's when I realized the money wasn't going to push me to want to get more houses that I realized, oh, I could be working stiff my whole life if I don't give myself purpose. And this is where I developed my purpose. Is
Nice.
like, this is my vision board, for lack of better words. And you know what's freaking funny? I did this right when COVID hit. Who didn't have like a crisis when COVID hit, right? And I'm
Mikey a
living
little
by
later.
myself, and I'm like, oh, I have no roommates to distract me. Gosh, I'm gonna sit in my room and figure out my future.
And that's a dark place to be.
It was so
man.
dark.
Like,
So dark. So when I figured out my purpose, that's when I went all in. That's not what I needed.
Google.
Okay, this is what I did in the past year, guys. Like, it's only been a year. I had my 3 houses. I sold my Provo house, bought 2 duplexes in Milwaukee in March. August, I got a partner, and we bought 4 more. And then I sold my Lehigh townhome because I had tons of equity. And then I bought 3 more houses in September. October, I bought 1 house with a second partner. January, I bought 3. Again with my first partner, and then February I did my biggest deal ever where I bought 11. This is all in 1 year. And I mean, I guess I make okay money, and this might be a little accelerated for some people, but what I'm saying is it wasn't until I realized what I'm doing isn't to make more money. It isn't to like be the coolest real estate investor in the world. It was because I have a purpose, and my driving force is to get to that purpose, and I'm going to use money as a resource. I'm not going to use money just to be rich. I'm building my rich life, not because money's cool, but because it's going to create the future for me and my future family, and like I can do whatever I want. I have freedom. This isn't even over yet, guys. Like I bought this like literally last Thursday. I got my 11 properties, and I'm in the pipeline now to do more, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But I really attribute this to figuring out what I want to do, why I'm doing it, and where I see myself going. And that could totally change. This could all change, but at least I have my vision. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I think every entrepreneur, every side hustler, every person who wants to be their best needs to figure out what that purpose is. So if you don't know what that is, or if it's not clear, maybe this is your incentive or when you have some free time to like get that figured out. It might take months, might take a few years, mine's evolving, but whatever you're doing, find your purpose in it, and I think it'll like make things accelerate tenfold.
So you just have the 2 partners so far?
Yeah, and I'm in the market for more. I actually had like 4 lunches over the past 2 weeks talking to people because I figured out a system, right?
Nice.
And once you figure out a system, you don't even have to just do this with real estate. Hero was talking about this. If you want to do, I mean, freaking Mikey's doing this too with his franchising. If you know how to do something and people want to be a part of it, you don't have to provide the money. You can be the person who provides all the knowledge, all the like systems, all the groundwork, and they provide the money, and you make them a good return, and you build whatever you want to build.
It's another way of doing leverage. It's just other people's money.
Yeah, exactly. So think about that in whatever your endeavors are. Like, how can I partner with people with money and use my skills to accelerate it? That's how I did it. Like, I use some of my own money. I'm actually strapped now. I have no more of my own money, but now that I'm building partners, I can probably buy like 30 houses this year or more, just depending on how many people want to work with me who don't want to do real estate themselves, right? They like want to be in real estate, but they don't want to figure out how to make Milwaukee work or how Cleveland works or Florida. Because, those are different markets. Yeah.
What kind of percentage do you make on a house that you've invested with somebody else's money?
Yeah, so, actually, I think I can break this down. I think I created this good enough for that. Let's find out. Okay, let's say
That's a lot of money.
just a regular house. Like in Milwaukee, I buy a house for $80,000. I put down what's 10% of 80?
Everybody here is gonna do this.
Okay, we put down $8,000. Oh, we need to put 16 because
There's
it's
a lot.
20% down for those loans. Rent's gonna be like 1,500.
Lots of money.
Let's say expenses are like they're gonna be a little higher. Expenses are probably gonna be like I don't know 600. Let's just say that.
Oh, that's expensive.
Mortgage is like 382. Let's do appreciation's gonna be probably a little higher right now.
Heck yeah.
Why didn't any of the numbers change?
Did you copy and paste it?
I don't think so.
I always do that. I copy and paste it, and then all the formulas leave, and I'm like, it's broken.
Doesn't really matter. Wait, it's probably if I change the rent, that's what changes it.
Do it, you will.
Oh yeah, okay. So with a partner,
Should not
they
do
put in the
this.
16,000. I do all the work. We split all the profits halfway through. We're get to divide that by half, so 96% per year for the full investment. So we're each getting 48% return.
Do you pay him out first or not?
Yeah. So I pay him the 1,600 pretty quick, so he gets his principal back, and then we just split either the rent when we're making the rent, and then when we sell the property in 5 years or 4 years or whatever, we'll split the profit 50-50.
Do you guys split depreciation and everything too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, everything's in half.
50, everything.
Yeah.
Guys, there are people who are almost billionaires who do that same thing.
Dude, you can become a millionaire just with 5 houses in 5 years. Well, sorry, let's rephrase that. You can become a multi-millionaire with 5 houses in 5 years doing this.
And then you will be able to afford your gold digger insurance.
Exactly. Did you have a question?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on apartment complexes and splitting those?
Oh, that's the fun part. That's my future. Okay. Apartment complexes are awesome. They have better incentives too. So
Tax incentives?
Tax incentives. Okay. Dude, Eric. You're not Eric. Tyler. I fixed it. Sorry, Tyler.
Lost my voice. So.
I still love you.
What's up, Ben?
You know? Okay. So apartment complexes. They return, they're safer in the sense that you're diversifying how many people you're renting to, right? So you go buy a 16-plex, you could have 4 vacancies and probably still pay the mortgage. They are more expensive. The loans on them are a little harder. They're usually 30% and they're usually 10-year balloons. And if you don't know what a 10-year balloon means, that means you pay like the mortgage as it was a 30-year mortgage. But then on year 10, you basically have to pay off the mortgage or get it or refinance. So the lending's less good, but there's more money in it.
Well, and can't you just get it's not like they look at your credit, it's based on if it's rented out and if it's nice.
That's one nice thing about apartments too. They don't look at your credit score or your credit history. They look at the property and say, oh, it makes this much money. Well, then you can get this much loan.
Crazy.
And stuff like that. Another nice thing about apartment buildings, guys, taxes. You know why people go into real estate? Freaking tax savings.
Yeah.
100%.
This is getting more advanced and I won't go into the extreme details, but there's something called cost segregation analysis. What that is you take an entire building, an apartment building, you list every light switch, every carpet, every cabinet, every piece of wood, etc. And then the IRS has a huge table and says you can depreciate this much from all of those items. But here's the thing, you don't have to do it over 27 years like you can with a single family home. You can take all of that depreciation in 1 year.
So instead of 27 equal pieces, you can just jump right in and take a bunch.
So what really rich people do, they go buy a warehouse, they do a cost segregation depreciation on it. Let's say it's $1 million, and then they deduct $1 million from their taxes in 1 year. You can't do that the next year. You can only, so that's why they'll sell the warehouse the next year. But so that's some of the benefits.
If you guys want to see cost segregation analysis and stuff, go look at the first video on YouTube. Gary explains it.
Yeah, Gary explains it really well. Any other thoughts or questions on apartment buildings?
No, I'm just curious. Are you thinking on doing that?
Yeah. So my future, I think I have a slide for it. We'll talk about that in a second.
That's my favorite book.
Yeah. Okay. This is.
If that's not your favorite book, get out.
Get out.
Get out. You're not welcome. Actually,
Don't take pizza with you.
This ties. This ties very much into this. I made a
He was
goal
a
of
girl,
making
yeah.
$10,000 a month in money from my investments. I did that this past year. You know what freaking Grant Cardone says? 10x your freaking goals, right? Like if you want to be like, you want to make $500 doing a job, Grant Cardone says times it by 10. So then you got to make.
He says times it by 5,
Times
obviously.
it by 5.
No, guys, Grant was just on an interview, and this guy was like, what if you wanted to buy $4 billion of real estate this year? And he was like, I'd take my $100 million that I've got, I'd go to an institution, and they would 10x my money, and then I could take that billion, and with $1 billion, you can buy $4 billion worth of real estate.
Yeah.
And he was just like, so why aren't you gonna do it? He's like, I hadn't thought of it till we talked. And he was just like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do $4 billion this year. And it was like, that's Grant Cardone.
Yeah, that's Grant Cardone. And after I decided I was gonna take this 10x rule, that's where I decided these are more to hit the rich life where I want my freaking cows, like all my cows in like the homestead. This year I made the goal. I did $2 million in real estate last year. This year I'm going to put $20 million worth of real estate under contract. Between me and partners and stuff like that. Long term, I want to make $100K per month in personal revenue. I can't do that with 20 million because most of that money will go to my investors. But I think in 10 years I can hit this goal.
Nice.
I don't know if I'll want to do that going forward because maybe my rich life is only like 20,000K. I don't know. 20,000K. That's a lot.
At some point, you can find people who work underneath you just because they want to learn from you.
Yeah.
They'll do the work.
Slaves. I mean,
Slaves.
workers.
Indentured servants.
So
Children.
I'm building a whole business around this. So eventually I'm going to quit my Adobe job because 10 hours a week will still be too much.
He won't quit. He's been saying it for years.
It's only been 3 months.
I know. He's like, I'm quitting after Christmas.
What?
Oh, that's true.
I'm in integrations. Yeah, integrations means I tell other people how to make their software work with Adobe software,
Right.
and when it doesn't work, it's their fault because we're a big company and it's never our fault.
I studied IS. It's not my fault.
Yeah, it's not my fault. I'm building a business where I'm like actually having lunches with people and like telling them what knowledge I know, and if they want to get into real estate, I'm your man. I know how to analyze apartment buildings and commercial buildings. I know how to make sure they'll turn up a good profit, and I know how to build the teams. So if anyone wants to invest with me, they can join my fund. And that's how I'm gonna like buy a bunch of apartment buildings, commercial buildings this year. I also do a coaching business where anyone who wants to get into real estate more on the lower level, like buying single family houses, like you pay me or we do ownership on a house. I teach you how to do it all. It's kind of like the internet gurus, right? I'm like trying to be one of those,
Nice.
except a real one, not like the fake crypto ones.
What are you talking about, fake crypto?
There's like a couple people in the crowd just
I
like.
can show you these numbers with crypto. It's possible.
You make videos like this, don't you?
Yeah, where's it? Yeah.
Go
Like
to
I said.
Instagram live tonight. You won't believe what this guy said.
I can't believe it. So yes, I'm getting into apartment buildings and stuff like that. I'll still buy single family houses, but that's going to be like with partners who want to focus in on that. I'm just trying to be the overall guru who gets in this space. And then obviously I'm going to buy franchises with Mikey. I'm going to keep doing my crypto and keep doing my stocks. Yes, I do crypto. Okay. These are some of the did you guys have any questions before I kind of get into more takeaways that kind of relate to everything?
Sorry.
What?
Why did you pick Milwaukee?
Oh, that's a fun story. I think I should talk about that.
Was she hot? I'm just kidding.
I was following her later.
When you can buy a house cash for 80 grand.
Now we know why you can't go back there.
My other children are there.
Yes.
He's like, she
Pick your
was
partners,
my
man.
realtor, and
There's a million different strategies to do with real estate. I decided to choose the one where I can make more cash after the mortgage than some other ones. Like in Utah, for example, most of the time you're going to buy a house, you're going to rent it for what the mortgage is. So you'll never make cash, but you'll have awesome appreciation. I wanted
And
cash flow.
depreciation.
Milwaukee has a lot of older houses and crappy landlords who suck, and there's an incentive there to go there and be a good landlord, which means I can charge higher rents and get stable tenants because they know I will treat them right and then
Pay for
they'll
repairs.
work with me. Exactly. If you just freaking pay for repairs and you're nice to them,
they stick.
people will stick around forever. So Milwaukee has houses that cost $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. They rent for $1,100, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. Like that's pretty awesome. The mortgages are only like $400. The expenses are about like $400. So I'm keeping $400 a property.
But you don't really get as much appreciation, probably, right?
Well, this year I've gotten a ton of appreciation. So that's why I went to Milwaukee, and I'm looking at Cleveland, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Kansas City.
Kentucky is a
Yeah.
gold mine.
Yeah,
Shall we?
exactly.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions on that point?
Probably have some more later. But
We can talk more later. So, anyways, the other there's tons of other freaking theories and stuff in real estate. Right now, guys, real estate's good to get into too because everyone thinks that we're in a freaking bubble. We're not in a bubble, guys. We're in a shortage. If you know anything about economics, that means there's not enough houses, and that's why the price keeps going up. And people think it's gonna suddenly crash, but it's not gonna crash until they can build enough houses. There are 5 million families looking for houses in the United States right now. We're not going to build 5 million houses in 2 years. That's going to take a decade. So chances of the market crashing, or unless something drastic happens, a black swan event, real estate's going to continue to steadily rise for the next few years. So if you can get a few houses now and just have them, you're going to get awesome gains because someone needs to live somewhere.
So why do you think there's that shortage? What's the cause?
Okay, 2008, there were a lot of builders. Market crashed. 60% of all construction companies went out of business. We haven't recovered. We built the most houses ever in the United States in 2008. We are building 40% of what we were building in 2008. It's going to take several years for new construction companies to be established and to get the talent back from South America because they all went home and stuff like that.
What you're saying is I better start a construction company.
Honestly, you can make some good money.
My brother-in-law just sold his construction
Oh, you do?
company, and they were booked.
But
They
it's-
sold.
So just keep this in mind,
I
our
mean,
big,
a lot.
Edge Homes is one of the biggest builders here in Utah. They
Oh, yeah.
inspect and finish 100 homes a month. So, and that's only that means 1,200 a year, basically. Actual homes, not townhomes. So if we need 5 million houses, right? And it takes 1,200 a year. It's gonna take forever to get to 5 million.
Exactly. Yeah, and construction companies will ramp up. Probably in 5 to 7 years, there will be more houses than ever getting built. But until that happens,
Sure.
there's a lot of growth opportunity. Does that make sense?
Well, and this is why Dan's in a sweet spot because he's doing general contracting and everything, and he's just, there's so much going on in that industry that it's he's gonna have a lot of opportunities to grow,
Yeah.
do bigger stuff, crazier stuff, because there's just availability.
Yeah.
So I guess, segueing from shortages, at what point do you start doing actual real estate development and not just, buying houses? When do you start building them?
Oh, that's
You want to.
yeah, that's a different game,
It's a whole
man.
different ballgame. and It's crazy.
The biggest thing in real estate, guys, is you have to be educated, and to start doing development, you have another level even of being educated. You don't want to just jump into it.
And there's a whole nother bunch of problems that come with developing as well. But
So I'm
you got
developing-
two guys that you can talk to about it.
Sure. And then
I'm developing a couple properties, and you go from dirt, right, to putting a house there, and you're gonna run into issues. One of my job sites, the stinking people couldn't pour foundations for 2 months because of snow. They cut into the sewer. The sewer main crumbled. The water main broke. The gas line right above it was leaking, and so that's $10K right off the bat that we have to fork up. So
Yeah.
it's knowing that those issues could arise and saying, hey, we're gonna budget for that. That's the hard part. Because you're going into brand new dirt and all these different old infrastructures. If you're in an old neighborhood, if there's no gas, sewer, anything, you gotta stub all that in, and just that part of it, it's $100K to get a street that's 100 yards.
And if you're going to go into construction, you're not getting loans from the bank. You're getting money from private investors.
Mhm.
So the threat of failing is a lot higher, right? Lawsuits galore. Banks don't sue you. They just take the property. Investors sue you.
It's a really good point.
Get a nice investor. That's what I did. I got a nice
Really nice
investor.
investor.
Who pays for all my stuff.
So the second question was a little different.
Yeah.
So I'm a college student right now.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of money.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've been looking into the 3.5%
Yeah.
FHA loan, right? I want to buy a house. how do I go about that when there's people, hence the shorters that are paying, 20% extra in cash, a much more liquid asset.
Yeah,
to my 3.5% loan.
It does make it harder.
Yeah.
You could get lucky on the MLS.
Yeah.
If you don't know what the MLS is, that's like the website that real estate agents post things for sale. You could get lucky doing that, or I've seen people get really successful just telling everybody in the whole world, I'm looking for a house.
That's it.
What ends up happening is your grandma's best friend's dog walker is selling their house, and they're like, oh, we could just do this before it even goes on the market.
Yeah.
And then you close a deal.
That's most of the deals I've heard about.
Yeah.
Andrew got his house that way.
I just closed on my 4th property, and every single property we have is off market.
Okay.
And the way you approach that, especially in Utah, you don't want to go and bid war, but you do want to know how to network.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody out there knows, like he mentioned, and it's gonna be in your close circle. Every single one of my properties, the first one I bought from my landlord that did summer sales, getting married. Done. Second one, we went on a trip to Orlando. We went to Disneyland. I said, oh, I'm thinking of buying a house. That day, I'll buy it. Let me know what the price is. Third and fourth is like the houses that were next to the second one. He's like, oh, you're moving to a retirement home? I'll buy it. I don't want to make it hard on you. My roommate is a realtor. I'm a financial guy. I'll approve the loan. He'll do all the paperwork. I'm so sorry you have to move. Sign here.
And then Utah, wards are so tight.
Yeah.
If you just go knock a couple doors, say, hey, do you know anybody moving? You can usually find one or two.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just what I happen to run into. Me and my wife are just buying our second house right now. We're building in Salem, but we were talking with our agent because we just kept running into bidding wars, and she's like, let's find lots that are going to be built on that it's just dirt right now, because she's like, people have a very hard time imagining what it's going to look like.
Sure.
And there's less people focused on those areas. And so we went and found 3 areas that were not going to have any, there's just plain dirt. And that's exactly what happened. We put offers on all of them, and then we chose the one we actually wanted in the end. And because when we put a higher offer, we ended up not even having to pay that because no one else put an offer on it. And I don't know if that's always the case, but that's what we ran into is people have a hard time seeing what can be there when they don't see anything there.
I bought a build lot recently without any competition, and it's almost cheaper to build a house because you get appreciation when you build it.
While
it takes
you're
longer.
building it,
Yeah. Anyways.
I was just to say, a lot of these answers, one of the consistent themes is that they're connecting themselves to someone who knows more than them about this.
Good call.
And so, if
Find
you're
someone
a
who's already
college
actively doing
student, just
it.
start asking. That was a perfect question, and start connecting yourself to someone like him, or say, hey, can I talk to your realtor? Because she sounds like a professional. I had a realtor that found me an off-market deal, and he was best friends with my brother-in-law, and so he was in my
He's
corner.
good too.
That guy
good.
And so just
He got
reaching
Jaguar.
out, just being willing to reach out and find people, touch people, and have them know
Not
that
to
they can
make it
come back to
consensual.
you.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I
Touch
thought
a
that
lot
was
of
a great
people
answer.
consensually. Touch them a lot.
Letting them know that you're there and that you're ready.
Cool. I just wanted to finish with these takeaways. This is how I built my business and where it's gonna go. I've tried to do real estate alone. Stupid mistake. I learned I hate being a landlord. I learned I don't know how to do a remodel. So I now talk to everybody about real estate, and I found wholesalers who give me off market deals. I have found new markets, and I found people who are crazy smart. And that goes with all businesses too, not just real estate. And I talk to everyone about what you're doing. Anyone who's a sales guy knows this changes the game.
Yeah.
It makes everything happen. I found all my partners because I just told them I was doing real estate, and I found people who I didn't know were rich but had tons of money, and they didn't know what to invest in it.
I love those people.
Make sure other things in your life are taken care of. You need to make sure you're feeling good financially, you're working out, you have good relationship with your friends.
You're working out.
Yeah. Kicking out toxic people, you know what I mean. Dream big, guys. Don't just have your small little dream and think it's great. 10x it. Be Grant Cardone and spend $10 billion.
one thing on that. Like I moved into this house in our vineyard, and within a week, the neighbor was knocking at the door, and he was like, "Hey, like, who are you guys? What are you guys about?" We started talking to him, and he literally just goes, "Oh, I just closed on my 500th door."
Yeah.
And
Nuts.
I like looked at him like, "Wait,
We're with
500?"
friends.
And he's like, "Yeah, my wife and I, we moved 10 times. I just buy apartment complexes, I build them now." And I'm like, "Who is this guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, feel free to come over anytime. I'll give you guys dinner. We have like nice little thing out in the fire pit. Like we can talk about this stuff." So we've gone over a couple times. Dude's a genius.
I'm jealous of this guy.
And he's just like the coolest guy. He's like, "Oh yeah, if you're gonna throw parties, just let me know. I'll park my truck on the side of the street. You guys can use my driveway."
I love him so much.
Who are you, bro?
Okay, I want to talk to you after, so I can talk to this guy.
Dude, he's a stud.
That's super awesome. I already talked about purpose. Guys, I am a pretty this is more for me, just to remind me. I am a pretty envious person. Like, I see people out there who are like making, my best friend is starting a business and he's about to do his seed A round and he's going to make $40 million. He started a company and I'm just like, dude, we're the same person. How are you so freaking successful? And then I realized,
happy for you.
yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, wait, like that's not gonna help me grow. That's not gonna help him grow. Our relationship could get strained. So for me, like in this particular instance, I just wanted to kill those feelings, instead change it to celebration and joy and understanding like I can learn from him and he can learn from me. Like just because he's like making tons of money doesn't mean he's like the best.
It doesn't mean you're smarter than me. It's just
Sean's just a really good worker. And finally, we all know this. If you fail, you didn't end it. It just means you have to pivot.
Nice.
It's like anything. That's it. I have this was awesome. I liked it. If you guys want to like get free real estate info, this is my real estate page.
Who's that guy with the glasses?
Who's that sexy guy with the glasses? I literally just post any thoughts about real estate here and content about real estate. So if you want to like follow me on dreambig.realestate.com, you can learn stuff. And if you don't, that's fine too. That's it. Thanks for listening.